Erik Ten Hag, he is still on that hot seat. It is indecision time. What is going on? International break. American Red Devils are back with you. Great to be here. And everybody was thinking something would happen over the last 2 weeks. I certainly did. I was wrong. But here we are, Erik Ten Hag coming back into the seat. No announcement, no nothing from INEOS. And we're headed into a big game on the weekend against Brentford. The Bees buzzing up to Manchester from London. And they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready to get their licks in, sir. So it's a big game of the weekend, but the big thing is, like, what's going on with Erik Ten Hag? We know there was a board meeting earlier last week. Nothing happened. It was a long meeting, sir. Nice part of London. Having a good time. But, yeah, everybody's expecting us to react to some kind of news last week. Very quiet on the Western Front, sir. How we doing? How we feeling?
When Manchester United have their second worst start in the Premier League era in back-to-back seasons, you'd like to see some ambition from the ownership. You'd like to see them move decisively. Look, I want this project to work out. I'd like to stick to the process. You've heard it all from the manager before, but at the end of the day, it's been a rough go, and we need like a spark at Manchester United. We do not have it. And 14th, Brentford coming home. Do you really want to stick Erik Ten Hag out there with the lads one more time? I mean, you could put the blame on a lot of folks, but this club needs to clear the air. I mean, as a United fan, there's something about just the joy in watching this team and watching this game, and I feel like that joy is gone at the moment. Like when you're just getting battered by, insert Liverpool here or Tottenham here, and where's the future? Where's the hope? Where is the exciting football to look forward to? And I just don't see any of it. So I think INEOS, it's a strange one for them to basically not back him or sack him. Because if you remember the last season, you got to judge INEOS. Look, I said they make mistakes coming in. They had to back him last season in February and March during that tough spell and say, hey, no matter what, he's our boy to the end of the season. And then after the FA Cup, they should have come out and either sacked him or backed him right away. And then they didn't. For 3 weeks, they talked to other managers, dated other people. Now we're in a similar situation. Like, they got to communicate and act decisively. So if they want to back him through next year, fine, do it. We'll get behind them. Even the lads on the training ground will get behind them. But having this no communicado in between, rampant speculation about the manager, I think they need to settle the situation at United because it's getting toxic. It will get toxic.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, some of it's self-inflicted wounds. It's always hard. Like, you can't listen to the fans too much because what the fuck do we know? It's hard doing their job. They're making a lot of decisions that are correct. They're putting a good team in place, but at the same time, they have to be level-headed. They have to be more level-headed than the pod is. They have to be more level-headed than the average fan is. But at this point, it's like, we've seen enough. As fans, we've seen enough because we've seen this movie before. We've seen how this played out with other managers, with this team, with this soft mentality. And with a soft mentality like this that already exists, unless you have a manager that can, like, really motivate players and is a leader of men or can crack skulls, you're not going to even turn the tide on a temporary basis, let alone a long-term basis that is going to be necessary to actually get United back to the promised land. So at this point, like, the only kind of thing you could change is the manager. A sack sometimes works out. We have seen that give us a temporary bump, but they've clearly decided to back the man. They backed him in the summer.
Well, they haven't yet.
Hold on a second. They backed him in the summer with his signings. They did spend money for the man again. They haven't backed him verbally, but I agree. They have played this a little bit cautiously. Is there any other
backing right now?
Quiet. They spent money in the summer. I mean, you talk all the time about how much money they spent all the time about.
Yes, but that
Erik
is
Ten Hag.
resulted in 14th, right?
So that's not backing him. They have backed him in the summer. Now he's still in the job. Remember, it's October 13th. This would be early to fire your manager. I think he's being given to the next international break. And at that point, we're going to know because...
I mean, we're 14th. We've scored as many goals as Southampton, like dead last.
But it is early.
Scored, and the football, that's only in the Premier League. You can say, oh, whoa, how's Europa League going? Not great. So the only thing that is going well is us playing well against Barnsley, which is exactly how last season was when we played well against the Crystal Palace B team. And that was, obviously, that's where we found our level last year. And the issue that I really have with INEOS is this team can't just languish. You're going to lose the likes of, like, big players like Garnacho. You think this is helping Kobe Mainoo sign his new deal? Like, just not having a direction or kind of aimlessly wandering through the league at 14th when you're a club like Manchester United, this should be a big deal that you started this bad. It should be a big deal that you're on year 3 and we got nothing to look forward to as fans. And that requires a move. It requires a big move. And there's people out there. Now, in the summer, I agree. Like maybe there weren't the names out there, but there are people available. We are Manchester United and we can recruit top talent. So I think we're dying for someone to get a new plan in at Manchester United and start playing football in a different way, because this team can do things. They can't win the league, but you can play better than 14th. And that's what we need to do. We need to play better as a collective and then add pieces in the summer and then try to push up the table. But we just got to start playing good football. And that starts at the top. It starts with Erik Ten Hag to get us to do that.
You don't have to play good football or great football tomorrow, but it has to be better than what we've been seeing. I think fans are frustrated. They've decided they're going to give him another few weeks to play it out. The man, you and I have clearly decided we're in agreement that he should go at this point. They haven't made their decision, so we're stuck with them.
Could they be trying to sign someone now? Like, there's another.
Depends on who they're trying to sign. Are they trying to sign someone who has a job or doesn't have a job? Right? Thomas Frank has a job. He was on the list, actually. He's a hell of a manager. But he's in a job right now. Tuchel is not in a job and is also on the list.
My point is the only way that they would not communicate. So if they met and they're like, okay, we're going to back him, they should come out and back him. And if they don't, then they could be negotiating with Tuchel to then sack him, right? So there's two paths that could be playing out. I just think they would back him if they decided to keep him. I think it's strange they haven't backed him. That's not great for Ten Hag. And that leads to speculation that they could be talking to other managers right now to get somebody else in, wrap that up before you sack Ten Hag, so he's a dead man walking. Either way, it's just not a good state for the club to be in, something that INEOS should know and be able to manage. Because, like I said, last year they did not deal with the Ten Hag backing or getting rid of him communication very well. And that added to, that doesn't help the players want to play for you when they don't know if you're really the ownership's guy or not, right?
And that was one of the only kind of mistakes you would call out that they've made thus far. Because at the end of the day, we have to remind ourselves, they're coming in to fix Manchester United. This is a huge fucking problem. It's even if you get certain things like nail it, 10 out of 10, right? Front office. We got a great front office. We got the best front office on paper that we could possibly hire. They got everybody. They got Dan Ashworth. They got Omar. They got everybody. But even still, it's like football is a hard game. It takes a lot of money. It takes making the right decisions and even falling into the right decisions. So it's like they're not getting this quite right. You can already see they didn't back them when they should have. In their lead up to the FA Cup, they didn't back them those 18 days post FA Cup before they actually made an announcement via their intermediaries. And at this point, I think they showed the least sure footing in managing the manager. And that's one of the hardest things to do in top flight football, especially at a club like United, who has so many problems with a team that's gone so fallow and with a reputation and expectations that are so big. So it's like they're probably making a meal of it. But at the end of the day, they're like, well, this season's a bit of a write-off anyway. We're investing in the squad. We're confident the young players we're buying, and the next guy will be able to use them regardless. So I think they don't have a rush because they're like, fuck it, this season's whatever. We got another month. If it keeps going bad, we'll just bring in Rude.
Quick PSA for the podcast. You like the American Red Devils. You need more of them up at Take. Check us out on YouTube. We just got our YouTube channel off the ground this summer. Please like and subscribe. Goes a long way to supporting the Muppet Take. And if you want to go even farther, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/American Red Devils. Sign up, extra podcasts every single month, tons of other benefits. Join the creme de la creme of the American Devils community on Patreon. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. Also, check out our store. We got some merch. We got hats, truckers, the American Devil trucker hat, shirts, scarves, everything in between. Back the man, Erik Ten Hag's Red Army scarf. Get them while they're hot. Get them while they're still available from Alex's garage. Also, check out our website, americadevils.com, and sir, tell them about iTunes reviews.
iTunes reviews and 5-star reviews, the American Devils, wherever you listen. It's a great way to support the pod. It helps us get found organically by other top Muppets like yourself, and we're still giving away free merch. All you have to do is write a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. Send a screenshot of the review to americadevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I'll personally pick, pack, and ship some free ARD gear right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great review. A refugee in the vitriol. It's been hard being a Man United fan for like 10 years plus now. These guys get it. Criticism of the team here comes from a place of love as opposed to every other soccer podcast that looks to dance on our grave. Honest insights from two Americans. Highly recommend for American fans of the greatest team in the world. Thank you for such a fantastic review. Thank you for everyone writing those 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews, sir. Erik Ten Hag. We still got him. What's the latest from the journos? What are they saying about that bald bastard?
Yeah, so getting into it from The Athletic, they were like filming the alley
all over
from
it.
The board
biggest
meeting
story
in
of the
London.
week.
Apparently the Glazers were in town, I believe, and so was Ratcliffe. Big sit down about Manchester United, and you had to think the manager's future was on the menu. but nothing. I thought, there could be like breaking news. I thought for sure we would hear something, whether we're backing him or we're sacking him. Like it doesn't have to be either way, but they got to say something. That's kind of what I think. And they got to say something. They said nothing. Which is kind of weird. A little emo in my opinion, but we'll just kind of watch this clip here. It's just like, what do you don't think you need to comment on the biggest football club in the world? I mean, come on. You got to let the fans know. Like anybody.
You gotta let the players know. The players probably don't know. You gotta let
the manager
you
know.
Let the manager know. Forget the fans, because it's like let the guys.
Clearly,
who have to
they're like in Kensington in a nice
somewhere
place,
posh. It's very nice. It's somewhere.
Let's check in with Sky Sports, our favorite journo, Sky Cave.
Guy.
He was waiting outside for a long time. What do you have to say about this?
By Solikol, who's been waiting outside that meeting for 6 long hours. Carve, as it stands right now, is Erik Ten Hag still the Manchester United manager?
Yes, he is the Manchester United manager. We haven't had any indication that a decision has been taken to change managers at Manchester United. Having said that, this was a very long meeting. It started this morning just after 10 o'clock. It went on till about a few minutes ago. We managed to get some pictures of Sir Jim Ratcliffe and also Sir Dave Brailsford leaving through the back exit of INEOS's headquarters in central London. I think they took the decision to leave by the back door because we are right bang in the centre of London, because there were quite a few TV crews and paparazzi here. A big crowd had gathered outside the front entrance where I'm now standing.
A whole lot of nothing from Sky Cave waiting outside in London. Unfortunately for fans, a weird one, bizarre. Like Sky Sports, Manchester United remains silent after 7-hour executive meeting. Dutchman's future was discussed by the club, but there has been no communication on the outcomes of that meeting. So it was discussed. They're just not saying anything about it. And the intangibles, like you said, how does this affect Garnacho, right? Kind of had a little tiff for tat, or Ahmad, for example. Might like the guy, might not like the guy, but is that going to get you excited about playing for Ten Hag, especially when his back is against the wall, when you don't know where he stands? Or does that get Ten Hag motivated where he doesn't know where he stands? I just don't think you can operate the way that INEOS has operated by A, talking to other coaches while he was still the manager, or not communicating what really the plan is internally or externally, because we've also heard Erik Ten Hag has heard nothing about this meeting. It does hurt the morale in the building. So going into Brentford, like there's all these questions and confusion. The club's saying nothing. Maybe we'll get something next week, but at this point, it's kind of concerning.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, before we get into that, I like how Sky covered the meeting, the board meeting itself, like they were picking a new pope. It's like, word on the ground. Do we have a new manager at Manchester United yet? You're there first. You're gonna know. Yeah, I mean, there is an element of like the fans, the players would probably appreciate knowing that this is the guy. But the problem is like at the end of the day, even if they say we back you, those words ain't worth shit, bro. Because at the end of the day, like if we lose against Brentford, which we easily could, lose a bunch of the games coming up around the corner, they're gonna be in a position where they have to fire him. So as much as like they could commit, they're in kind of a difficult position.
That's not leadership, though. Like that's not like letting him fail so much where it's so clear beyond.
Well, what do you say?
Like,
so what do you say? You say we back him to the end of the year? They're not going to back him to the end of the year because he hasn't earned that right.
INEOS came in last year and they're like, this next week's really important, and he would just, and it's like, this next week's really important. Like,
but
even
they never
again,
said that. And other people were saying that.
No, but even again, it's like, it's like why were they all at Villa? Why were they all at the away ground at Villa? Every single one of them in person, just like they were at the FA Cup final, just like they thought they're going to fire him then. He's not going to give him the clear signal. You got to make a move. You got to be a leader. And like what I see now is like at Manchester United, this club, this team, it's like it is horrid to watch this team play. It is like they're overpaid. They don't try. You question the effort level. Crystal Palace away. We're already we're in October. We're already losing our minds and losing our heads and questioning the leadership on the pitch, off the pitch, everything in between it. And INEOS just going to sit there and let it fester. It's like, you got to save the season. There's something to play for.
Can I go conspiracy theory?
Yeah.
Well, only because I had heard it in the media, In the media, there was an announcement. There was some interview of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I think he was in Monaco like a week and a half ago. It was before the Villa game. And he was like, hey, I like the guy, talking about Erik Ten Hag, but it's not my decision. It's not my decision. And then after the Villa game, we heard that actually, like, he will be the ultimate decision maker. So my kind of conjecture is, like, do you think it's one of those things where at the end of the day, he shouldn't be the decision maker? It should be Omar and Ashworth, right? Because he's the chairman of the board.
He's running the show.
He hires the CEO, but the CEO and the rest of his team should be making those kind of operational day-to-day decisions.
No.
Do you think,
of
do you
course
think
Ratcliffe
he's
has
like
a call.
empowered them, but at the end of the day, he's still running the show and he gets to decide when the manager is hacked and not hacked?
No, they will bring the decision to him and then they'll confirm it with him. That's like, of course he has to be read in. But the issue that I think is INEOS is being stubborn, and they're being stubborn just like Ten Hag was. I think when INEOS came in and you look at how, like, I respect the move keeping him on. I do. It was like, okay,
now or then?
I thought I thought the ruthless ownership who knows the game, you sack him after the FA Cup. That's the playbook. That's what should have happened. It's exactly aligns with what happened to LVG. It was like, hey, this phase, this build out with this manager, with his vision, it's just not working. We need a fresh start. Clear the air, bring somebody else in. Just like vibes check almost. Like, hey, we just gotta, this is getting a little toxic. You're fighting players. Players are, it's just too much. I think you should have done it then. Okay, INEOS says, you know what? We want to be like, it's a project. Let's think long term. Okay, fine. We're on board with that. The signings they made were too in Ten Hag's favor or in his likeness. I thought they should have completely like disconnected from the manager, made signings independent of what he wanted, and just kept him on board, right? And that might have pissed him off more, and it might have led to him leaving. But I think INEOS has to just plow this new vision, ex Ten Hag, and I think they try to do one in like half of each. They try to keep Ten Hag happy. They try to make some of their signings. And then now you're in this situation where you're halfway down the road with Ten Hag. They don't want to sack him because a lot of these signings they made for him, and they don't want to take the L, basically. INEOS is trying to say, hey, well, we spent money. We got him his guys again. And if we fire him, then we're kind of like, what the hell? Because I think they did kind of accommodate some of these signings for the manager, and that's probably what's making them wary of pulling the trigger, because that'd be a tough pill to swallow given the net spend.
And also, I mean, these are high-paid guys. These are super successful individuals, all in their own position. Beyond Ratcliffe, everyone that's filled that board seat, that's in that seat now, is a killer and got there for a reason. They don't want to take... Dude, we're 2 months into the EPL season. It started in mid-August. We're in mid-October. It's like, it's only been 2 months. Calling that and be like, God damn, we backed that guy again. We gave him another 200 mil. We signed a lot of players that were aligned with his direction, and we have to fire him already. It's like, I don't think they're ready to take that L yet. So I think they're just going to be like, well, let's wait another month, and then we still have plenty of season to fix, and we don't look as bad. And I just think at this point, you do it early, you fire fast. You fire fast,
ruthless,
you
bro.
fire
You gotta be
fast after
ruthless,
what we've seen, and also knowing that, like, there's a really smooth transition with just like pushing Root in and see how it goes to like literally the end of December. Like giving him 2 months, like, how's he do? It's kind of a shit show. No one respects him because he's an interim, blah, blah, blah. You bring him
but you got to
Tuchel.
avoid the Ole. You got to avoid the Ole.
But he's actual coach. He actually won something.
No, I understand.
He actually won
I
something
know,
before
I
he
know,
became
I
a
know.
Manchester
But
United manager.
Like, that's a whole nother...
I agree. That's also dangerous. That's also a poison chalice.
but that's where, like, again, with the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it was like...
It's two vibes.
No, but you get back to it. Ole came in interim, got the vibes back. United's playing well. Woodward should not have given him the job until he got top four. He gave it to him before top four collapsed. We didn't get top four, right? So, like, there was a bad decision made then with Ole. And so the whole idea would be like, if Ruud gets the boys going, then if he gets top four, then he gets the job. Like, you got to put meat on the table in this industry. It's cutthroat. And INEOS should be ruthless when it comes to performance here. Like, what's the upside in keeping Ten Hag? It's the 17 million. Then you got to call out INEOS.
Where's the 17 from? I thought it was 10.
Apparently it went up since they triggered his extension. But there's something with Erik Ten Hag and INEOS because they didn't give him a new deal. They extended the old deal because they couldn't come to an agreement on a new deal. And then apparently his buyout just went up. So now INEOS is probably thinking that's the only thing on their mind is the 17 million they got to pay Ten Hag if they sack him. That's like literally, I think, the issue here. The move on the table is clearly
how much
sack Ten Hag,
How much is Europe
Tommy T. Sack Ten Hag, Tommy T. You do it for a year. if it goes well, it goes well. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But you need something else. You need something else right now, like right now.
I think the even safer, smarter move is you test out Rude in the seat. The season's already a mess. It's like, give him a go at it. What you do is this. It's like, does he earn the season? It's like, all right, how's he do in the next 6 weeks? If he does well enough, all right, you have the whole season. And if he makes top 4, or even honestly top 6, based on how we started, you'd probably give him the job for a year or two. Give it a go. It's like, there'll be other Tuchels around. There'll be other just like, Tuchel's a guy, he come in. The team actually probably has to be a little further ahead.
This is
probably
United,
a little bit
dude,
higher
like-
mentality ahead. We're a mess, bro. I get
You
we're
need a
United. Keep
big-
saying we're Manchester United, but at the end of the
You
day,
need
we're
a
we're a
big
fucking mess.
manager, dude. Like you need like
Rude's a big player.
Here's the
Like,
deal.
he's a big player. He was a hell
Winning
of a player.
the Dutch league doesn't give you the credentials to come to United, right? And that's what I would say. It's like
Then there's so few managers that like have actually won.
So-
There's like 3 or 5 managers.
Tuchel's negotiating.
Yeah, he's the
going
only
to-
one that's available.
He's talking about going to England.
He's just trying to get the job at United.
No, but here's the thing: managers like Tuchel or a Poch, for like you said, like whatever. He's a certain caliber, like a tier A manager who you can bring in, and like no one would question the pedigree to run Manchester United. Like Southgate, people would question it. Potter, people would question it. The random managers from Germany they're talking about
Yeah.
today.
No, Tuchel, nobody
people
questions
would
that.
question it. Tuchel, no one's gonna blame you.
No.
Like no one will blame you, and you need more of those guys. Like Ancelotti, no one's gonna blame you.
Right.
You bring in Zidane,
Allegri, like,
no
yeah,
one's gonna
yeah,
blame you. You
yeah.
bring in a Conte, even
Allegri, like some of
Exactly,
these like
like-
hard nosed, like only one league but win the league and multiple different teams and real leagues, top 5 leagues, not the fucking Dutch league. So at the end of the day, you don't get criticized for
Exactly,
that's
and
what they
we
say is like
need
you don't
a little
get
more of
fired
that.
for hiring Tommy Tuchel.
And then, by the way, when you bring in a Tommy Tuchel, like no one's gonna care what Anthony thinks about him or anything like this. You have
Well, I think that's where they go. I
Ten
think
Hag was fighting battles with these egos, and it's like I just don't. Tommy Tuchel is like he's got the CV to win those battles like when it comes to him versus Jadon Sancho or him versus like a CR7, like that he knows how to deal with those big names, and I think you need someone who can handle that and handle the spotlight of Manchester United. And it's a short list, and if Tommy T goes away, that's another one. It's like you got to make calls, dude. By not making a decision, you're making a decision in some ways.
No, you are. You absolutely are. But the real thing is like, does INEOS want an ego like Tuchel? Tuchel's a
They do
world.
not. They
no,
want
that's
a-
why they haven't hired him.
No,
because he's
they
a
want a-
world-class talent. He's the best coach on the market today by far. But he has that Mourinho vibe. He has the content. These guys, the reason these guys stay at clubs for 3 years max is because they're
They want
prima donnas.
Potter. They want Southgate. They
know,
want
I know.
nobody from the Bundesliga, so they can just run them around. They even like Ten Hag because they
'Cause
can
that.
run them around.
Exactly.
They want a simp that's not going to kick up any dust or like call them out on their BS. But you know what? I think you need it. So you need like a big dog. You got to get that big dog on the leash. You got to run him at Old Trafford because you like.
This is a big
At the
dog
end
club.
at the end of the day, the manager is the man at the club. Klopp. What was Klopp relative to the board when he left Liverpool? Like the board is nothing compared to him as far as like that stature that he has.
He earned it,
Look
though.
at what
Yeah.
Pep is bigger than Man City.
It is, yeah,
Pep
without a doubt.
is Man City. Like the Sikh is just off to the side. You can barely see him. It's like the manager is the main man at the club.
the lawyers.
That's the way it always is, and that's the type of personality you need at United. Someone who can stand tall, sir, on the touchline, and I stare another manager down, and that's just what you have to have. And it's like, we're trying to get away from that, thinking you can find the next smartest manager in the game who's going to be amazing in 5 years. That's just not. You're gonna stub your toe a lot trying to do that.
I think you could do that at some point. I just think right now we have so much fucking crud in the squad. The mentality is so rotten that it's gonna be hard for these guys who are overpaid and kind of bluffers, and some of them who won a lot, right? When you have the Casemiros of the world to be like, yo, listen to this 42-year-old Portuguese guy who just came from Sporting, who's probably a great coach, but now you just need a hard ass guy like a Mourinho, like a Van Gaal, who's just I got the pedigree, bro. Listen to me, or you're fucking done. Or you're playing with the fucking under 21s, because at this point we have so many overpaid bluffers that you need more of a disciplinarian, but someone that has the pedigree and the track record to be like, yo, I won a fucking Champions League with Chelsea when they were a bunch of bums. That matters.
No, that's a great point that you bring up, because it would be like Arne Slot went into Liverpool And
No problem.
And they have this amazing team.
No problem, right?
Right. And that culture was reset by Jurgen Klopp. And they have an amazing team that has chemistry, played together for a long time. They didn't even make really any signings in the summer. If Arne Slot, who's we all know is a good manager, came to United, he would drown.
He would die. He would die.
You need the big dog to reset United. You got to have someone who can reset the culture at United because it's a culture issue. It's a mentality issue. It's all the intangibles. It's like we have the talent. You show up on a Saturday or a Sunday, and we look like deer in the headlights, and people will drop their heads. I'll tell you what, Thomas Tuchel would deal with that. Erik Ten Hag isn't. Like an Arne Slot, I don't know if he could. But these are the names that you're trying to think about. Let the Brightons of the world hire these guys. Then you hire them after they do well at Brighton. I think that's kind of where you need to be as a United coach, right? You got to be hiring people who have done it, proven it at a certain level, and then bring them into the field. We don't need to be competing with Brighton for coaches new coaches out of the Bundesliga. That's just not United.
No, that's like you got to do like EPL proven, like you do EPL proven with players. You do the same thing with a manager because succeeding as a Dutch striker in the Dutch league is one thing, or as a Dutch manager in the Dutch league. But they come into the EPL and having success there is a whole different story. So I couldn't agree more. They're going to make the move. It's not going to happen now. It's not going to happen in October, but it's going to happen this year.
They're going to pay.
No, they are.
INEOS is going to
pay now, pay later, bro.
Exactly. INEOS, I like INEOS. I back them. I back their deal. I think they're the right for the long-term United, but they're going to they're making a meal out of this manager. They are making a meal out of this manager situation. Like they literally should have sacked him after the FA Cup and promoted a new guy, and then they would have had 2 years of breathing room, no matter how bad the team was or what we did. They wouldn't have had any pressure. Now by keeping them and then keeping them after underperforming again, they're gonna be in the firing line. I don't like to see that, but they're gonna have to learn. They're gonna
It's a hard job.
What are the odds that they announce he's sacked and a new manager next week? Obviously, international break. We're recording this on October 13th. What do you think?
I think it's almost zero, unless we get like annihilated. Unless we get like lose 4-0 at home.
No,
to
but
Brentford.
next week they could. My point is they could be negotiating with the manager now.
Also,
and
we can lose on Brentford. I mean, we have a big. Are you next week in the sense of before Brentford? Before?
Yes. Yes.
I think it's very low. I think if they would have done it, they would have done it a couple of days ago, last week after that board meeting.
They would have had to. But they seem to be moving in like this. They want to talk to other managers before they make a decision.
They like a lot of dating, a lot of speed dating. They like calling up these other managers and be like, "What's up, dude?"
Like you should sack interim, then have the conversations. But like they like to be trying to test the water. It's a weird order of operations.
I think they're really cerebral. I think they're overthinking some of this. It's just like make a decision, bro. Just make a decision, make a decision, make a decision.
Like
you know what you're doing.
Fans red meat.
Make a decision. Feed them. Feed the fans.
They're getting restless.
Death. We want death.
The pitchforks are coming out. They're like getting cooked by Brentford at home. It's going to get really toxic in there. It's
Thomas Frank and that head of hair, bro.
Woo. All right, that's it. That's the pod. You like the American Red Devils? Please support us. Subscribe, like on YouTube if you haven't already. Like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, check out our website, AmericanDevils.com, store, AmericanDevils.store, and our Patreon, patreon.com/AmericanDevils. Give us our top $10 last 7 days.
Number 1, how you doing? How you doing? Dublin, Ireland, Brooklyn, New York, Oslo, Norway, Chicago, Illinois, Los Angeles, California, Seattle, Washington, Melbourne, Australia, Houston, Texas, Manchester, England, and last but not least, New York, New York. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. Couldn't do without you. Let's go. Erik Ten Hag watch. Will he be around next time we talk to y'all? I bet he will. We're going to keep posting all things United here at the American Devils podcast. Appreciate you.